I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the June Finance Committee. We've had a number of special meetings lately on the budget, but today we're getting back to our normal course of business. Thank everybody for being here today. As usual, we will start with the consent agenda. Are there any items anyone would want removed?
C2.
Mr. McIntosh wants C2.
C3, 4, and 9.
C3, 4, and 9 by Ms. Adams. Anyone else?
That's a quick question.
C6 for the mayor. Ms. Burke, do you have any?
No, I'm not. Mine is going to be discussed in the general.
She has some general item questions. Okay, can I get a motion on the balance of the
Move for
consent?
approval of the balance.
Second.
Agenda.
We have a motion.
Can you second over here?
No, she cannot.
God, I'm
She's
not
out of
in it.
order.
Remove this one.
You're out of order.
Don't worry, I did the same thing.
All right. Everybody please vote that is eligible to vote. Those are approved. We will do them in numerical order. We will start with C2, if the Secretary please read that one.
C2, consideration of items related to the pilot program for transit-oriented development planning, section 20005B, funding through Federal Transit Administration.
Mr. McIntosh.
Yeah, if we can get a short presentation on this, I'd appreciate it. My purpose in bringing it up was just to bring attention to it and how it fits into our strategic planning efforts and the affordable housing being our number one issue. And I just want to try to highlight whenever we're dealing with those issues.
Yes, sir. I'd be happy to. Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem Burke, Mr. Chairman, and members of the City Council and Committee.
Good afternoon.
My name is Damon Duquesne, Assistant City Manager. So this was a grant that was applied for over a year ago. Initially, it was to study opportunities for streetcars and other sorts of things in cooperation with Wake Forest Innovation Corridor. They did a study that sort of eliminated that opportunity, but did identify what I'll refer to as like a rails to trails and more of a greenway approach. So the purpose of this is these are planning dollars and study dollars. So we revised our application with the Federal Transportation Administration. Originally, we were awarded a $1 million grant. The scope is now $800,000, but it will be used essentially to establish pedestrian and bike transportation opportunities along that same route, sort of along the trails that circulator was going to look at before. So there's $800,000 in grant money with a $200,000 city match.
Thank you. Any other questions, Mr. McIntosh? Ms. Adams.
Yes. The actual, I guess, the plan hasn't been done yet, or that we have a plan that was done when we were talking about the streetcar per se. And then Innovation Quarter has a plan, correct? No?
Well, yes and no. Is that confusing enough for you? Mm-hmm. So initially we were partnering with Innovation Quarter on the same plan for the circulator, which was the streetcar. After they did a separate analysis that basically established that in order to do that, it wasn't going to be feasible in anyone's lifetime. So they identified this better opportunity to make use of that existing sort of pathway that the circulator was going to follow and turned it into more of a pedestrian and bicycle-friendly greenway type option.
I guess my question and concern is, and those that know me from way back when I got on the council, Mayor, Councilman Clark, Councilman Burke, I was very concerned about the streetcar plan. I didn't have a problem with the concept because I was in St. Louis, in Kansas City last year on a conference and saw their streetcar, and I was amazed at the before and after of what the community looked like. My concern is that, again, that I'm hoping that the citizens will have some input into this plan, because, again, I think where we are, sometimes our citizens stay a little upset with us. No, they stay mad because we still want to do everything in the Innovation Quarter. This circulator or whatever it is we're going to be planning to do, I just want to make sure that the citizens of the urban core that use the transit system, and it's not probably anybody in this room, I want them to be able to speak to this plan. And if you don't mind, I'd like for us, you can send it to us vis-a-vis email or whatever. Send the copies of the pre-plans that we came up with for the circulator streetcar and what Innovation Quarter has on their mind, if that's possible. I do know that, like I said, I asked you the question, but I already knew the answer, Damon, that there were two plans. I want to see both of them now, and I'd like to see them in a way that, because now I got to look at them and see, are they truly going to impact and affect the quality of life of the urban core African American community, and does it work for our housing strategy as well? Because that was one of the things, and Ms. Newman can speak to that, and Ms. Logan Ford, that our strategy says transportation has got to be one of the major key pieces of our housing strategy. So that's where I am with this. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, you had a comment?
Just really quickly, I think Councilmember Adams is right on target there. The North Carolina Rails Division of U.S. North Carolina Department of Transportation offered this rail line to us to use for a potential streetcar, and we thought that the price of the system might be affordable, but when the numbers came back, they were more than pretty high. They were very high. So I think taking advantage of this opportunity to use this rail line that runs basically from Innovation Quarter north all the way to 27th Street would be a great amenity and would, I think, contribute, as Councilmember Adams mentioned, to creating housing along that area there. I will say, Councilmember Adams, that during the preparation of that initial study, Neighbors for a Better Neighborhood did get involved and help bring some input in there. And I'm sure somebody will be used that same way.
And Mayor, what I was looking for, members of the council committee and the council, is that, again, coming out of our strategic planning this past session, that we stay on point with what we say we're going to do, and affordable housing is our number one piece. So, again, I'm not against it. I just want to make sure, just like we got to now go do with our housing strategy, we got to make sure that the people that are going to be affected by it are actually involved in the engagement.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
Since the mayor said Neighbors for Neighbors, would you give us the Neighbors for Neighbors who participated with that?
Be glad to.
All right.
Glad to. Thank you.
Mr. Bender, somebody write that down. We're looking for a little more information on the previous work, and that should include the Neighbors for Better Neighborhood folks.
All of the stakeholders that were involved.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? If not, I would need a motion. We have a motion to approve by Ms. Adams. Is there a second?
Second.
Everybody will push the buttons. Everybody please vote. That is approved. Thank you very much. That's C2. We will now go to C3. Secretary, please read this one.
C3, resolution authorizing an extension of the terms and conditions of the city's financing of the sale of city-owned land to Brookstown Development Partners, LLC, and an extension of the city's lease back of the subject land located in the Northwest Ward.
Ms. Adams, this is yours.
Yes, just want to ask the question. I know we do a lot of deals and contracts. Is this one usual for the city? I know we re-upped this before. I remember when we did it. And what I'm asking is, are we making any revenue off of this agreement? Because, again, I'm seeing that we do this a lot. I don't have I'm just asking, because we did it in 15, and now we're doing it again, and they're upping it for 5-year increments. So we did it back in 09, 10 or 4, whatever it was, 11, 09. And then we did it in 15, and now we're doing it in 19. Okay, who's Ms. Saunders? Thank you. When we're talking about revenue to the city, and, I know we're doing budget and everything, but these are the questions that we need to ask as we, again, moving forward with all of these contracts. We have so many contracts. Most of the council, we don't keep up with all the contracts. That's what your jobs are. But can you just tell me, this one tweaked my curiosity again, because I remember seeing it a couple of times before.
Okay. Good afternoon, Chairman Clark, Mayor Jones, Mayor Pro Tem Burke, members of the council.
Good afternoon.
This transaction actually happened in 2009 as part of the Brookstown Development property. The city sold this piece of property, which is the second in Brookstown, to Brookstown Development Partners, and the agreement was that they would, they borrowed the money from us to buy the land, and then in turn, we are leasing back the property at the equivalent rate of the interest payment. They have made principal payments over the last few years. They paid the balance down to $100,000. It was $980. Now it's it was $980. Now it's $880. But the interest that we make, we turn around and lease back. So it's a swap, basically.
And have we developed all of these pieces, these
What do we use it for?
Yeah.
I think the police cars are parked there right now.
It's a police transportation unit, so the police department uses the building and the lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you can see the police cars when you drive by.
True, right, near the ballpark.
I was going to say, when we give this, a lot of times we never give who these partners are. Who are the Brooktown partners?
Who's Brooktown?
We have a list. I can get that to you.
Okay, because long years ago, Ernestine Wilson used to say, when you all add no names, we need to know names,
Okay.
I think. Ms. Kemp.
We can get that.
Okay, thank you. Mr. McIntosh?
I know that several of these are not contiguous or separated, and I know that several of them are in a location where we think we may have a deal here soon. Developer may come in there. So I'm assuming these are severable. These can be, we can do a release deed and sell one of them without selling the other. We can get out of our lease if somebody comes along and wants to buy it.
This
Probably for Mr. Bureau.
may be a city attorney question. I mean,
We don't
have-
own them.
Yeah,
But we have a lease.
We have a lease.
Right. So
right.
we have lease rights.
We have a
so
lease. They
sever
own
those.
it.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah,
That's what I'm.
yeah.
Okay. So we have, basically, as Ms. Adams pointed out, we signed an original in 2009. It went for 5 years to 2014. We extended it again.
Right.
And they are paying it down over
25,000.
9 years. They paid off $1 million.
100,000.
100,000.
100,000.
100,000.
A
Yeah.
million?
Well,
It'd be
zero
gone.
here, zero there.
It's all finance.
But anyway, and that will continue, the 25,000
Right.
a year. All right. Can I get a motion on this, please?
Motion approved.
We have a motion approved. Do you have a second? I'll second. It doesn't matter. We'll keep going. I think the real question is, Mr. Prim does something with it. He'll want us out of the lease. I hope he does. That means we'll do something with it. Okay, that is approved. Thank y'all very much. We will now go to C4, please.
C4, resolution authorizing the sale of certain city-owned property at 310 Martin Luther King Jr. Drive under the upset bid procedure, located in the East Ward.
Ms. Adams, this is yours also?
Yeah, I know this is Mayor,
Councilwoman.
Councilmember Scipio's ward, but this property has been vacant for a very long time since the Smith Dry Cleaning came down. Again, I grew up on Martin Luther King down the street, which was Claremont back in the day, 601 North Claremont. And I just wanted to say this is great news. Looking forward to seeing what the Bakers do here. Again, some new blood into not just the urban core, the east of 52, but hopefully more to come from them once they get this one under their belt. That's all I wanted to say.
Ms. Scipio, do you have a comment on your item?
I do.
Go right
I'd like to comment that this is in the East End plan, and it's one of those projects that's coming forth because we have a citizen who's decided to invest in the neighborhood, to come home and invest. I think this is very significant because these are African American investors in our community, and I'm looking forward to what is going to happen there because it's the beginning of showing people that we are positive investors in our own neighborhoods and we can reclaim them and bring wonderful things to it. So I celebrate Ms. Baker and her investors to have the vision to put something positive right there on the corridor.
Okay.
I need to
Ms.
ask
Burke,
a
go
question. The people who are using it now, they can keep it cleaner than what they're keeping it and keep the cover around better.
That's us, Ms. Burke.
That's us.
our
City
city
owned.
property.
Okay, but they're leasing
Yeah.
to somebody.
No,
I don't know
no.
about leasing, but somebody is using it. They go in there and they doing something.
It's the
Don't,
city.
aren't they,
It's the
Mayor
city.
Pro Tempore, there is a vapor extraction system on the property that was installed by the state of North Carolina. And they're extracting vapors. It started in 2016. And when the vapor extraction gets to a certain point, the system will be removed. They have indicated, though, that they, at their cost, they will be willing to relocate the system and the wells necessary so that a developer could redevelop the site, which is what the Bakers have planned.
Yeah, I don't miss a beat. I see everything.
You might explain to us why they're capturing vapors.
Well, there was a dry cleaner on the site at one time, and as you all probably know, that's one of the worst things for contamination. They worked on the site, they removed a lot, but still gases remained. The gases are no longer actually on the city property, but they're on an adjoining property. So they are using the city property to extract the gases from the neighboring property, and will continue until it's remediated to the point that it's no longer necessary. They monitor that and check it on an annual basis to see if it can be removed.
Okay, thank you very much.
You know, it's amazing how the families live right up on that cleaners. You know, those big people, Hintons, what are they, Lintons, Wyndham? I don't remember those people. But they live right next door, and then some live on the other side, and they live right in the back of it. They had even that daycare there, the little children in here and all that stuff. That's all.
Are the Bakers here?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought that was y'all. Just thank you for your investment in the city.
Our pleasure. We're looking forward to it. We have a very strong.
Why don't you come up and give your name and address for the record, and you may speak. You may speak a speech.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council, and also Mayor Pro Tem. I'm Charmin Baker. My husband is Michael Baker. You want to join me? We are MTB3 Properties, LLC. We are from Winston-Salem. We're very excited about the opportunity to own a property in Winston and redevelop it. We've gone by that property for, 8 years and saw nothing happening. We saw the trailer go up and the fencing around it go up. And it's just really an eyesore in the community, and we really want to do something about that. So we own 2 investment properties right now in the southeastern part of the city, and we just want to go ahead and expand our attempt to help the Eastern Ward look a little bit better. This is a very brand new project that's going to be totally different than what you see right now. It's going to be 33,000 square feet, 3 levels, having a mixed-use theme to it. So it's going to have retail spaces at the bottom and apartments at the top. And so we've already contracted with an architect and also done a feasibility study, and we find that Winston-Salem is primed for multifamily housing. And so we're here to share our vision, and hopefully the City Council will help us to do that.
And thank you for doing workforce housing in it as well, mixed use, mixed housing, market rates as well. And looking forward to seeing what the retail spaces are going to be at the bottom like that. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, can I get a motion on this, please?
So,
Second.
Please push the appropriate buttons. Everybody in favor, please say aye. Otherwise, no. And to the Bakers, this is a committee meeting. It is approved unanimously here. The full meeting of the council will be next Monday, a week from today, at 7 o'clock. You may certainly attend if you would like. Because it was passed unanimously here, it will be on the consent agenda then. I don't think it will. I think it will pass. I don't think there'll be any opposition. But you're certainly invited. We meet at 7 o'clock, and it's right down the hall.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. And by the way, you were just on TV, in case you were wondering. All right. We voted on that? Excuse me. Okay. We will now move on to C9, please.
6.
Or C6.
Somebody.
Oh, yes, C6. The mayor wanted C6.
C6, ordinance amending the project budget ordinance for the city of Winston-Salem, North Carolina for the fiscal year 2018-2019.
Mr. Mayor, you're...
Yeah, thank you. Just very quickly, Ms. Ford, I'm glad to see us moving forward and you laying out the various budget items here. I'm assuming that as recommendations come from the Housing Coalition and others, these numbers perhaps can be adjusted if projects come along that doesn't quite fit, or if we need to move some money from one of the allocations to the other. In other words, are we not tying our hands with this one?
That's correct, Mayor. Good afternoon, members of the committee, Mayor Pro Tem Burke, Mayor Joines.
Good afternoon.
My name is Tasha Logan Ford. The categories that we have as part of the budget can be adjusted as we have projects that come in. What we wanted to do was provide large categories so that we could show the different buckets where we're allocating funds. Following the committee meetings that were held in May, we did take this budget back to the coalition members
there, okay.
so that we could share this information with them and also receive feedback. And the information that we got is that they were agreeable to the categories that we had identified.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Can I get approval?
Move for approval.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion second on C6. If everybody please vote when it comes up. That is approved as well. We will now go to C9.
C9, resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Securian North Carolina Mutual for the provision of employee life and accidental death and dismemberment insurance.
Ms. Adams.
Yes, the one thing I guess I wanted to ask is contracts. Insurance. I wanted to ask, were there any MWBE companies included in the submittals? I know you listed all of these companies. It's a lot of information, but I just want to know.
The only one is North Carolina Mutual, which is partnering with Securian.
They're partnering with this group?
With Securian. It's Securian and North Carolina Mutual.
North Carolina Mutual.
North Carolina Mutual.
Who's going to get the
But were there
Right.
any others?
No,
There weren't.
not minority contractors. no.
Okay. And I know we put it out for RFP, and we got what we got. But this is one of those businesses for the general public that minorities do own companies. One of the things that we did back in the 40s, 30s, 50s was that we had insurance companies. And we had reputable insurance companies. So when we have an opportunity just like this to utilize that, we need to do that. Especially here in North Carolina, we were renowned across the country for 2 or 3 of the largest African-American insurance companies in the country. Okay? Thank you.
They still have North Carolina.
Yeah.
Okay.
Move for approval.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Everybody please vote. That is approved. Thank you very much. We've now finished the consent. We will now go to the general agenda. We will start with G1. The Secretary, please read this one.
G1, resolution authorizing acquisition of a vacant lot on Bethel Methodist Church Lane for a new fire station located in the South Ward.
Chief, would you be the one to address this?
Yes, sir.
Why don't you give us just a quick introduction of what we're doing here?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon to you, Mayor Jones, Mayor Pro Tem Burke, other members of the committee and council.
Good afternoon.
I have a short PowerPoint for you with some visual representation I think would help you if that would be okay.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Chief, I'm going to turn my back to you because I can see this one.
Thank you. And I've got a pointer here that I'm going to use. Probably if everybody could turn and look at that monitor there in the corner would be beneficial. So we have some gaps in our coverage area. So what you see here is everything inside the city limits, and the pastel colors represent 4 minutes travel time as calculated by Network Analyst, which is a computer model we use for routing from the fire station. So, for example, this is Station 16 right here. So from Station 16, traveling, they can reach the boundaries of this purple area in 4 minutes. So the red areas represent parts of the city that we cannot travel to in 4 minutes. And when you cross the lines of where do we go a lot versus where can we not get to very easily, this area right here bubbles to the top every time, no matter how you measure it, and it is significantly ahead of any of the other red areas on this map. So so I've enlarged this. So I've enlarged this And so what I'm showing you on the next slide is this area right here enlarged. And what you'll see here is requests for service from January 14 through March of 17. So every dot you see on this map is an incident somewhere in the city for the part of the city that's shown here for a call that was answered. Now, what you would see inside at any level, at anywhere on the map, if you were to continue to drill down and drill down, you would notice that these dots are stacked on top of one another in a lot of cases, particularly in this area right here. Now, we have a tool known as the Occupancy Vulnerability Assessment Profile. We shorten it to OVAP because we have an acronym for everything in the fire service. So what you see here are moderate or higher OVAP scores, and what OVAP does is we enter the building size, the building construction type, whether or not it's sprinklered or not, what they do in that building. For example, a tire warehouse commands more respect than a warehouse that stores granite headstones, for example. Whether the building is open 24/7, whether it only has staff inside from 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, and the computer calculates a score. So what you're seeing here is every dot on this map represents an OVAP score of at least a moderate risk, moderate to high, moderate and above, if you will. So what you see here is just stacks and stacks of moderate plus risk OVAP scores. You see them, again, stacked in down here, stacked on top of one another. This is a heat map, same area of the map. This is that area we're concerned about outlined. The closer you go, as you move from blue to red, that shows concentration of requests for service. So this is the subject lot. This is Bethel Methodist Church Lane. This is Burke Mill Road. This is the Danby House. This is Bethel Methodist Church right here. This is 4.05 acres. That is, as you can see, is clear. It's relatively flat. Unfortunately, we cannot close up the hole in the coverage area if this station is not located, if it's not addressed on Burke Mill or a street that directly intersects Burke Mill. We can't close the gap. I show you this map. This is the subject lot right here. And I show you this map just to give you an aerial idea of how much that part of the city is built up. There's not much open space over there. A lot of Novant facilities, Haynes Mall, that's what you're seeing on the ground there. So I take you back to this map. This is the hole we're trying to cover. If we place a fire station on that lot on Bethel Methodist Church Lane, that's what we do to that hole. Another reason we don't close it right there is because there aren't any streets there. We can't get there because there aren't any roads. We'd catch that too. So we feel like this is really an ideal location to close that hole in the coverage area out there. I want to back up and show you one thing here that I neglected. So with this map, what you see here are the stars that represent existing fire station locations. And even to the untrained eye, if you look at these stations and how they are located relative to one another, it's pretty easy to see there's a hole in the coverage area out there just by looking at where the other fire stations are. So based on the area that you see here in orange, this is what we did in that area last year, from May 1st of last year to April 30th of this year. So about 1,900 requests for service. This area is unusual. In most parts of the city, we'd see about 60 or 65% of our total call volume to be medical. But in this area out here, this is anomalous. We're running fire calls at almost a 2-to-1 rate over medical. We're looking again for that 4-minute travel time, and at the 90th percentile, we're doing it in 6 minutes and 47 seconds. And then that puts our total response time at about 2 minutes over that, 8 minutes and almost 40 seconds there. So in that orange area that I showed you, that we're providing that 4-minute travel time right now, only less than 1/3 of the time. Now the proposal is we have a proposed arrangement for you to consider. With the church, that 4.05 acre lot appraised at $281,475. The church has tentatively agreed to accept $210,050 in cash. This fire station, prior to getting to the point where we were looking for land, the concept was to have a multi-purpose room, community room that we can use, the community could use, Councilmember Larson could use it to hold meetings. We are short on meeting space. So that room is part of the project scope initially. And to make up for the approximately $71,000 in difference between appraised value and purchase price, we have tentatively agreed with the church that they will be able to use that space as their fellowship hall because their fellowship hall is small, in need of repair. And in the Methodist Church, you can't just sell a piece of land that belongs to the church and pocket it. You have to have some capital campaign. So with $210,000 in cash that we're prepared to offer for the lot, they're going to reinvest that into parking lot improvements. They have a parking lot that's in disrepair. They have some stormwater issues, and they're going to invest that money into those site upgrades and sort of make us a swap on the balance of the appraised price for use of the facility.
Okay. Any questions? Mr. Larson, this is your ward. I'll let you go first.
We spent a lot of time trying to find the location for a fire station that would meet the needs of the city, and compliment the chief on his persistence and thorough examination of the report that you saw, which showed an obvious hole that we have in the middle of the city. And I certainly think public safety will be looking at this again in a few minutes, evaluating, of course, the site and the building that's going to go on it. But there's no question that the price has been negotiated very tightly, and I think there's real value to be had in acquiring this piece of land, because there ain't that much land in the South Ward that's buildable at this point.
Ms. Adams, I think you had a comment.
Yes. Attorney Carmen, have we done agreements like this before?
To my knowledge, this is the first long-term agreement of this nature with the institution to use the facility for church services. But I did look in terms of whether or not we can legally do it, and we can. It just will have to come back in terms of approving the lease through the normal lease process, since the lease will be for more than 10 years.
I understand the need, and Councilmember Larson's been, lobbying for this fire station for a while since he's been on the council. I understand that. It's just that, again, I know I'd never seen us do this before, and again, it's not personal with me, it's just business. I know we should be doing public-private partnerships, but this is different. And again, I'm concerned about the perpetuity deal of this deal until the church is no longer there or until we're no longer there.
The lease will have to have a lease term. It cannot be for longer than 99 years, but it will have a lease term with renewable terms, but it can't be indefinite.
Are there any recreation centers out there in that area?
I'm not sure.
In your part of that ward?
Any what?
Recreation center.
Probably Hobby Park's probably the closest one. To Hobby.
But that doesn't have any interior.
No, it doesn't have any facilities.
That's just an open bar.
There's no facilities to that, no. Well, there's a shelter, but...
Okay, thank you.
No, if I could...
Go ahead.
Comment a little bit on that. Yeah, I think the partnership with the church is new ground. There has been a lot of discussion with them to get the price and meet their needs, and even get the land available based on what they need and what we need. The conditions of the lease are such that it'll be quite carefully regulated as to how those spaces will be used. If the church should leave, obviously the lease is voided. It's not transferable. I don't believe the lease is not transferable. So even if another church comes in behind this church, they will not have access to that property. I feel fairly comfortable that it can be arranged. It's going to fall largely on the fire department to control their space, and I think they will be able to do that.
Mr. McIntosh, you next.
Captain, Chief, what is the what's the underlying geography under all this hotspots? Is it Haynes Mall, where all the red dots are?
Haynes Mall, Navant. We go to Navant properties a lot, but just you know what that Haynes Mall corridor, what that area of town looks like now.
So I'm curious as to why the ratio of fire to medical is flipped the way it is. Any idea why that?
So I did think about that, and my first run at it is because we do not answer medical calls at any facility that has skilled care. And a lot of those properties would have skilled care. So you would see us go in there for fire class calls, but not on medical calls. But that's my first pass at it. I would have to spend some time drilling into
I'd be
the
interested
data.
to hear if you drill down a little deeper on that. I'd like to know. Thanks.
Yeah, I was going to say, I go out that way between that particular street where New Bethel Church and over to Stratford Road. It's just a lot of medical facilities there. But the observation I'm going to make, some years ago, when we put a fire station on New Walkertown Road, and we really wanted the citizens to have the opportunity to use it. They didn't have no money involved. Nobody was given. And that particular chief of fire denied that.
Denied the use of the fire station?
Yeah, he said we couldn't use it because they have fires and it would interfere with fire business.
Well, there probably is some justification in a facility that's not set up like this, because you open up a fire station and you have a call and we don't have staff to stay behind. Everybody gets on the truck and leaves, and it's probably hard to clear and secure the facility. But in this case, the part of the building that we're talking about allowing the public to use is separated by access control from the working part of the fire station. So even if you're in the multi-purpose community room, you cannot get out of that and into the working parts of the fire station without going outside of the building. Well, you could go inside the building, but somebody would have to allow you through a controlled access point.
And also, Mr. Chairman, we are buying something from them, but we're also making an investment for them as well. When you talk about their parking lot, about the water drain or whatever you were speaking about, and I think, and then to say 99 years, even though when a church may change over, but still putting that length of time, I think you need, if you're going to do this, it needs to be a shorter time for these people to have the use of that facility. Have you put that in writing yet?
No, because the lease actually has to come back to council and go through the council process, so terms have not actually been negotiated.
I know it, but I think that should have been for the public record. Right. That it hasn't. But that's something, Mr. Lawson. I know you want something, you need something. It's something I'm going to have to think about real deep.
Yeah, I have a lot of needs. I would say that on this particular station, from the get-go, it was designed to have a very public and community function to it. That I want the citizens to be able to engage in our fire stations, and part of that deals with this assembly space, but also part of it deals with a hall of history that we're going to try to create that will have reflect the history and traditions of the fire department of this city. We have a lot of memorabilia. We got a lot of names of famous people that have worked in fire department and served the city well, and we need some way to celebrate that. So there will be a small hall of history conducted with that, which would be available for school groups and what have you.
It sounds good. I'm not against us trying to bring in the neighborhood, but then when you're talking about giving that investment back to the church to use some of that money,
right,
and they having the use of that facility,
right,
and then how would you schedule? Are they going to have church? How often will they be having church and church meetings?
Mayor Pro Tem, they won't use it as a sanctuary. They'll only use it as a fellowship hall space. So at most, on the occasional Sunday afternoon or Wednesday evening. And this is not a 2,000 or 3,000 member church. This is a 50 to 75 member church on a typical Sunday morning. So I don't envision them putting a large strain on the space.
But you're not guaranteed that either.
Well, no,
Because
no
they may
guarantee.
start liking that and start having church over there now.
That's the lease. That's the lease agreement. That's the lease agreement.
Ms. Scipio?
Chief, do you know who owns the land adjacent to the church between the big parcel and the small? It's a house there. Is that owned by the church also?
Yes, ma'am, that's their, let me back up, make sure. You're talking about, right here,
Yes.
that's the church office. Yes, ma'am.
So are they planning to put some type of trail or road through there so that when they have events at the fire station, they're not parking their cars at the fire station, but they're planning to either walk from the church to the fire station through that land? Or do we know?
So this is a concept, just so that we could kind of have something to talk about. So the church and the church office will be over here. So as it is currently programmed, there is way more parking than what you would typically see at a fire station here. But yes, ma'am, it's within. It's like 200 or 300 feet away from the church. The scale of that aerial photo may be giving you the idea that it's further away than it is. It's not that far. This would be that multi-use space access control right here, and then this is the Hall of History space that Councilmember Larson's talking about here. And we hope that this will be a symbiotic relationship, that the church will bring people into the Hall of History. The Hall of History will sort of let folks know that there's a church down there on the dead end. And again, this is a space that we need desperately. And I've been a part of a fire department in the past that had a community room like this, and for every time the community used it, the fire department used it probably 25 times.
Any other questions? But it would be available to other community uses.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And that would, just a couple quick questions. Does the 210 that we're actually paying for, is that within our budget that we had budgeted for the land acquisition?
This is a $5 million project, including land acquisition.
Okay. Mr.
Yes, Chairman Clark, it's at least half of what we had budgeted for land acquisition, if not even less than that.
Okay, thank you. Okay. I think what I have heard is the devil's in the detail, and we will get a chance to actually see the lease arrangement. And I do think, and we have a very fine legal department, that they will be sure that we're properly taken care of, but we will see that when it comes. In August. Okay. Can I get a motion on this?
Motion to approve.
Have a motion. Is there a second? Second. Have a motion and a second.
I'm going to have a prayer meeting with Mr. Larson.
Okay, that's fine.
Just be abstaining.
And I'm assuming, is this on the agenda for the next meeting?
Yes, sir.
Okay, if you happen to be on public safety, you will hear this again. So if everybody please vote. We have 3 in favor, 1 abstaining, none opposed. Thank you all. We will now go to G2, which is another fire station. Secretary, please read this one.
G2, resolution to enter into an agreement with Ursoy Brake Appleyard Architects, PA, for professional architectural and engineering services for the design and construction oversight for the replacement of Fire Station Number 3, located in the Northeast Ward.
Okay, we're now going from the south side to the north side, different fire station. Are you going to present it?
Yes, sir.
Go right ahead.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council.
Good afternoon.
In April, the city advertised for architectural proposals for the replacement of Fire Station 3 on Liberty Street. We received 9 proposals. A evaluation team made up of myself, Assistant City Manager Duquesne, the Fire Chief, and a building construction specialist scored those proposals. The firm receiving the highest score was Ursoy Brake and Appleyard. Those scores were based on their MWBE commitment, their distance from Winston-Salem, their innovative approach, their work experience, their understanding of the project, and their past performance with the city. Ursoy Brake and Appleyard designed the recent remodels of Fire Station 7 and Fire Station 9, and we were very pleased with their work. So we're very proud to recommend them as the architects for this new station.
this is replacing the one that's up near the old airport? Is that
That's correct.
Okay. Ms. Burke, this is your area?
Yes, I'm gonna see if we can throw us a little room in the back there. Yeah. A meeting room. Yeah, I got to look into that now. But it's an outdated. It's been needed for a long time. But I do want to see the plans before you call and find them.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I'm sure that's a nice creative idea, Mr. Larson, that maybe we can throw one over on that side a little bit.
Have a meeting there tonight.
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
But anyway, we'll be looking.
Any other questions or comments on this? If not, can I get a motion to approve the contract for the architects?
I move for
We're just starting on it.
That's correct.
I move for approval.
We have a motion. Second. We have a second. Everybody please vote.
Did mine do right?
Everybody please vote. That is done. Thank you very much. That is all on the agenda. Mr. City Manager, do you have anything else you want to?
That's it.
Okay. Miss Tony, did she leave? She was here. I was going to see if she wants to say anything on the budget. She's left. Thank you, everybody. The Public Safety Committee does start at 6 o'clock, and I'll assume they will start promptly because we will be finished then.
Yes, sir.
Thank you all very much.